opening borders worldwide could legit change the face of economic planning and development so much that it could be like a way to essentially save everything as it would be. And so thanks for watching the videos. I really appreciate it. I really do. And I want to talk about open borders because it's a new sort of idea that I have moving forward as far as, publicly addressing perpetually sort of the idea that open borders is actually a really good thing. And so what do I mean by open borders? And again, before we assume too much by about what I mean, I literally mean exactly what I'm saying. And so historically, and let's go over some of the context of open border policy and what exactly that means, right? And so historically speaking, before the 1920s, specifically before World War One, the United States and many other countries around the world that were becoming industrialized had mass blanketed open border policies. I mean, did you ever wonder how any of us got here? I mean, like, it wasn't as hard as it is now, trust me. And mind you, we fled from a government for various different reasons. And so, I mean, there's something in the context of not having an open border policy to begin with. Now, I will recognize there are many arbitrary examples one could use of negative border open policies. But again, we're going to talk about that. I want to continue to talk about why America and other industrialized nations around the world, moreover, are in fact the powerhouses they are. And it was not, in fact, because they had immigration policies that were anything short of being open. And so again, we'll go back to the 20s, right? And the KKK, or otherwise known as the Ku Klux Klan, I'd like to thank them for giving us the inspiration for the Dave Chappelle skit on the Chappelle Show, because low key, that was like one of the greatest comedic skits and social awareness sort of propaganda that it could ever exist in terms of shedding light on the situation. I mean, it's so much light, in fact, that, the poor guy didn't work for a quite long time because of you not paying him. And right, so let's not dive down the Chappelle rabbit hole, right? But shout out to Dave Chappelle, who is one of the smartest and funniest people of all time. And so other than that, the KKK can also be held responsible for the potential rise of Nazism in the 30s. I mean, I guess it's a really good thing that there was a democratically elected president named FDR who did a good job of trying to suppress the minority of small America in their provocation and, implementation of Nazi style practices post World War One. And yeah, that's just weird, honestly. And so there's that with the Ku Klux Klan, and they're brought up, and we're talking about open border policy because it is in fact, and I don't understand this as I'm doing the research. So historically, the Ku Klux Klan is blamed for the passing of anti-immigration bills and anti-Catholic and anti-Semitic sentiment within the nature's sort of course of action and their cause of conversation, as it would be. Now, I find that really weird because I thought, elected politicians back then, I guess we won't compare them to today's politicians, but I'm pretty sure I thought they were politicians then and not members representing the Ku Klux Klan party. So I'm not sure how a private group of people can influence public policy in a way that it would be just anything super like less than shady and some sort of like being good in there with the government to make these kinds of laws passed to begin with. But anyways, if you do some of the research, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the KKK is accredited for the first time major anti-immigration law was passed in 1921. And so they take credit for that historically. Something not to take credit for because, again, link in the description below, but 40 to $100 trillion can be added in global GDP if industrialized nations around the world and all other smaller nations practice open border policy. And I know it's extreme, right? The thought of having a border that, we allow anyone and everyone to sort of come in is preposterous, right? I mean, yeah, do you get the satire in that? I mean, I think that it's in fact, preposterous to think that having closed borders does anything more than cause more trouble than it solves, right? In terms of not just cultural impact on the people that the people are traveling to and from, but it causes open border policy, it causes economic detrimental impact. And so if we're sold all around the world, if it's communist China or Soviet Russia or how do you describe Russia? I mean, or America, right? It's just the thought that if we're going to be sold on spending money to make money to, uphold capitalism and China's very unique version of capitalism, then why not open the borders to get more money to play with in terms of economies around the world, not even ever discussing opening their borders? And again, I think that instead of not even considering it an option, I think that the extreme thing is to continue to allow immigration policy to be used in such a way that it is currently, which is not good for anybody. Again, on both sides of major political aisles, on their terms of how they think and stuff, it's not working. It's really, really bad, right? In terms of even before on this channel, I've talked about amnesty versus asylum. And I even feel like that's a cop-out argument now that I've done a little more research and that I'm willing to be a little more progressive in how I would like to see the country move forward in terms of economic growth and development, right? And again, if that's the catch-all phrase, then I sort of think it's something that we should consider. I mean, it's, in my opinion, rather unfortunate that economic terms must be addressed before social and cultural implications can be discussed. But hey, it is what it is, and we're at the bargaining table, right? So 40 to $100 trillion in additional global GDP. And this is research as new as 2022. And to give you a perspective, $80 trillion was the global GDP in 2021. So the fact that by opening borders, we can essentially double our global GDP is astounding. And I don't understand why I've never heard this before. Again, I think it's because I've been indoctrinated to think that immigration policy is either for or against, when in fact, I think that was the wrong thing to think about in terms of business and growth and cultural and social development, which all leads to economic gain, growth, and prosperity for that particular community. And if we live in an immersive world where other countries are willing to make money instead of continuing to spend money to have enemies, I think it makes so much sense to really strongly reconsider how we talk about immigration in this country and about how around the world, it might not be something that politicians want to talk about like now or anytime, maybe in the next 8 years, I'd say. But for those of us that are still going to be around, healthy, active, and wanting to make change, now is the time to have these conversations so that public policy in the future has a semblance of foundation and there's an actual following behind the concept, right? And so amnesty and asylum are like, I would say, 19th and 20th century arguments. I'm more interested in the future and in talking about things that will be impactful and meaningful and that will actually change the course of where things are going. And if, again, we're talking on a business level, let's open the borders.